Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimate Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Alright guys, just me today again. I know I don't usually wear a scarf, but it's cold outside. So, this is our solo review just because I got like 4 or 5 movies I gotta see this week, so I couldn't wait on anybody else. I just had to get them, knock them out, and this one is playing at convenient time, so I decided to go see on the basis of sex, regardless of the fact that I'm probably the least qualified person to talk about it. But I'm gonna do my best, because I actually have a lot of good things to say about this one. Now, I've talked about the movie quite a bit on the show before, because the trailer, like, first off, the movie's way better than the trailer. The trailer made it look like the only thing they talked about was the sexual inequality thing, which made me worried that the movie was going to focus more on the message and the characters and makes the whole project feel flat. But in this case, I'm very happy to report I was actually very, very wrong on that, and I'm very happy that is the case. I actually really like this movie. I don't think, it's not probably not my top 10, but it sure is hell a lot better than Vice. This is actually a really sincere, this is a really well-made, well-written, wonderfully acted film, and I actually enjoyed the hell out of it. For those who don't know what this movie is, I haven't heard about it, or you don't know the plot is or anything like that, it's a biopic about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, which it took me 500 times to get her name right, she's still kicking, was a lawyer, who was one of the few women that got accepted to Harvard back in, I want to say, like, the 60s or 50s, and, she eventually became, the long story short, she eventually moved on to become the first, I can't talk today. She eventually moved on to get nominated in the Supreme Court after winning a bunch of landmark cases for gender equality, and it's because of her actions and what she did that we actually are as closer to equal rights as we are today, although we got a long fucking way to go. We'll get to that discussion. And now, I'm going to base this off right at the bat, and I'm not going to pretend I am any kind of virtuoso on the topic in any way whatsoever. As you can plainly see, I am a white heterosexual male. I do not understand prejudice and inequality, so I'm going off what movies tell me, what people I know have told me, what I've seen through other conversations and social media and all that. And there will be some talk about social media, because there's one eerily similar thing that if I had not read that today, I would not have believed people still use this argument, which is baffling to me. Seriously, I read this argument today, and it popped up in this movie, and I'm like, oh my god, it's okay, now, nothing's changed. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, so this movie stars Felicity Jones, who you'll know from Star Wars Rogue One, who plays the Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I can finally say her name now. And she's really damn good in this. She actually does, Armie Hammer plays her husband, Marty Ginsburg, who is a tax attorney. And they work wonderfully off each other. Honestly, my favorite part of the movie is just watching Felicity Jones and Armie Hammer just talk to each other, because they have such good chemistry. I could watch them for hours. They are so good together. And that honestly helps humanize a lot of the movie, especially when it gets more into the, it starts talking about the tax stuff, talks more about the law stuff, the stuff where it can get a little dry. But because you have characters that are really, really likable, or at least really, really interesting, that it helps you get through that stuff and it keeps you invested, rather than doing what I thought the movie was going to do, is that once the moral of the movie kicked in, that's all it would talk about from beginning to end. And it still talks about it a lot. I don't want to, minimize, how much it states its message and how well it states its message. But it doesn't do so at the cost of its characters, which I really appreciate. That was my biggest worry going into this. Her son kind of gets the axe. I think her son in this movie is in two or three scenes, and then you don't hear much from him afterwards until he's brought up in the epilogue crawl, where it just says, James plays classical music somewhere. But it's largely about, the movie's by and large about, Ruth, her husband, Marty, and her daughter, Diane. Diane, who's also representative of like the generation that would follow her and the ideals they would take on and the social fights they would take on and so on and so forth. And they all work really wonderfly off each other. All the characters are really, really likable and very, very easy to root for, and they're acted so wonderfully that you're only going along with whatever they're doing, and it makes you pay attention to the message, which is something that Vice didn't, which is exactly what I was trying to say last time, but here we are. But because and the reason I honestly, I think I listened to the movie way more than I did for Vice, and I don't want to spend the entire review shit on Vice, so I'm gonna keep this brief. Is the fact that because I was invested in the characters, whether I liked them or I didn't, or whatever the case may be, I was at least invested in what's going on enough to actually listen and get the point across. Vice doesn't do that. Vice has no interest in that, which is why I already like this movie way better than I liked Vice. So if you're gonna go watch one biopic this week, make it on the basis of sex. It's a way better film. Now, here's where we're gonna, and so all the characters are really likable, and it definitely does have the cliches you kind of expect this kind of movie, where there is kind of the there's the guy from Law and Order comes up. Was it Peter? The older guy that was also in Newsroom. I tweeted his name out earlier. I'm gonna look it up really quick. I apologize. You see him in the trailer. He's the old guy. He's the dean of Harvard, and he is condescendingly sexist, which you know is just there to piss off the feminists in the audience and to piss me off. In a good way. In a good way. I'm not saying that as a slandering term against feminists in any way, shape, or form. You get, it's really when the lawyers come, like the opposing lawyers come in, that's where the more cartoony, sexist angles come up, and you see these in every one of these kind of movies. I got the first name wrong too. Sam Waterston, plays the dean of Harvard, and he's also, his lines are in the trailer too. Honestly, majority of the lines are in the trailer, are the cheesiest lines, which is probably why I had a lot of doubts for this film. Because a lot of the stuff that's really good is not in the trailer, which is kind of shocking to me. They chose the cheesiest trailer bait lines to throw in there, and you know when the movie stops dead in its tracks, and just as if you see the little tile card and the thing goes, "This will be in the trailer," shot saved for the trailer. We give just enough space so they can cut it in. But yeah, so eventually what happens is, and one thing I do like about this movie is I feel like the way it approaches talking about sexism in America back then, and honestly how it can relate now, is it very rarely does so through overt mannerisms by other people. Not until it saves that largely for when the evil sexist lawyers come in. But other than that, for example, when she graduates from Harvard, and she gets all the way from the ultra snooty sexists who come in later to be the villains. She's looking for a job, and she goes up to one office, and it goes "You're way overqualified to be here. Why do you want to work here?" And it's "Oh, I just think I'd be perfect fit here." It's "Come on, how many denied you?" And it's 12. And then she goes on a long rant about how all the bullshit reasons they've dismissed her, they're asking me when I get my second kid, and it comes off as a woman naturally ranting about something that she's experienced, the way that you hear any woman you talk to would say. And it felt very natural, felt very in the moment, and so that way when that person comes up with a BS excuse and not to hire her, it feels more genuine and it feels more in that culture at the time. And I think it's what I really like this movie too, is everyone, again with the exception of the evil lawyers, talks to each other like I feel like they would. The characters are well-defined enough that none of the conversations they have feel disingenuous. It all feels like stuff they would actually say in that moment, which is a very easy trap to fall into these kind of movies. And again, I'm looking at Vice as the most recent example off the top of my head, where the message doesn't lead the movie, the characters lead the movie. And the message, they just carry the message with them. And that's what a movie like this should be, and it works in that regard. Is it perfect? No. Like I said, there's quite a few cheesy lines in there, lines I know just in there for the trailer, and of course you got the times when, the plucky girl showed up those crazy men, play the quirky music. You got like some music cues like that. You got the big dramatic music towards the end when the climactic court case, and you hear like the dun dun as like thing. Sorry, I just saw Sam Waterston in my head, and I just accidentally did the Law and Order theme. Anyway, sorry, I'm a little loopy. I always seem to be loopy when I'm by myself. This is why I always need like someone to anchor me down. But anywho, but you got like, so whenever like a dramatic court moment happens, you got the do. They got like the ultra dramatic do music. That's basically saying, this is the down moment. That kind of music. We all know it. If you heard it, you know what I'm talking about. But even then, you're still invested enough in the characters and what's going on that you can kind of look past that. So I wouldn't say this is an amazing movie. Like, it's probably won't make my top 10, but I think I'd put this on the same par as I would, like, Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. I would say it kind of falls into that category. It's like the best comparison I could think of, although I would say like Steven Spielberg's Lincoln was way more overt with its depiction of racist views at the time. This one is more subtle about it, which I appreciated, because I feel like that's more grounded in a relatable way to modern times, because let's face it, especially right now, there's still a lot of that, and as much as we don't want there to be a case, which something they bring up, and I love that they brought this up. I think there's a part where all the evil layers are talking to each other, and talking about the ACLU, there's a, and again, if I didn't hear this exact argument from comic skaters earlier today, I would not believe this. People believe this is a valid argument. Where they basically say like, "Oh, all those equal right problems are over. The ACLU just organizes people in a smaller chunks to feel like victims." And again, like if I hadn't just if I hadn't just looked in the darker side of Twitter today to understand like racists and sexists and the homophobics that are going on right now with this whole stupid comic skate thing, which if you want to depress yourself, go look that shit up. I almost read that exact same argument word for word, so I'm like, oh my god, this not only is this thing not only is this a thing people believe, but they still believe it. Because, and that's kind of what I like about this movie, too. It does mirror the fact that it's not so much people are going out, I mean, well, they were. They don't want to actively go out of their way to shut people down and say, like, oh, know your place, although they do everything except saying that outright. They never say it outright. They just pretend that the problem doesn't exist or that it's already solved, so that way they have an easy excuse not to do anything about it. And that's something you still see a lot today. And it's been around since the 50s. You're like with the, like, God knows, I just wrote a whole script about this very topic last week. So I don't want to go too much in detail, but basically it just goes through, like, if we don't talk about the problem and we just say it's solved, maybe then they'll shut up about it. That's kind of the general consensus that a lot of people tend to take when it comes to these issues. They don't want to deal with the change. They don't want to actually address it. They want to pretend it's already addressed. They want to pretend it's already solved, and that's just it. And that's the movie. That's the approach this movie takes on the subject. And I thought that was a smart way to play it, and it makes it more relatable to modern day audiences. And that means you're probably going to get more out of it, especially if you've been exposed to that kind of bullshit rationale before. And again, what really boils down to is that it anchors it in good characters and good writing. And even when Ruth does have like the sweeping end speech at the end where she convinces all the judges to her side. Now, I don't know if that's the actual speech or not. It's a good speech, but it definitely falls into that biopic court cliche. Pardon me. But at the same time, this movie just did a really good job getting me invested in everything's going on, that I cared about where it was going. And even when you do have like the stock overly sexist male characters show up, it's not. There are a couple cases where there were some really like overt ones. I think there was like a guy in a classroom, which granted it's a college, so is it a high school or a college? One of the two. Either way, so you get, I think it's a college, but either way, yeah, you get you can, maybe there would be this asshole in college, I don't know, but they definitely play up some of the more overt sexism with using the college guy as a transplant for that kind of viewpoint. And there's a good character arc with Ruth, and like I just really enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with this one. I feel like the message is sound. I feel like this movie has a better chance of reaching people than from what Vice was trying to do, which I'm still not quite sure what it's trying to do. But this one I liked a lot more than Vice, and I think it's a pretty good biopic. I'm not gonna say it's great. I'm not gonna say it's phenomenal. I'm not gonna say it's one of the best of the year. But I think even though it definitely follows a very formulaic biopic approach, and it's probably not as it's probably not even interesting as Ruth's actual life, because God knows, you read the stuff she did after this case and all the things she went on to do. It's like, my God, I would love to have seen that. But for what we got, and for what it is, I thought this was a genuinely good film, and I'm really glad I was wrong about the trailers, and this is a case where I am very, very pleasantly surprised. So, I would love to hear your takes on this one, honestly, because again, I am speaking to this as a white male, so I feel like my experience, my criticism or viewpoint on this is obscured or skewed, whatever term you want to call, but incomplete. Let's go with that. So I would really love to hear some alternate viewpoints on this, see how much it nails it, how much it made up for the movie, or if it over-dramatizes, how much, or it doesn't over-dramatize enough, you know, so on and so forth. But for what it is, I thought this was a really satisfying little biopic. If I did have one criticism, I would say that it does try to tie up the issue of sexism in a tight little bow, when it's still is still very much a strong issue right now, and it doesn't look like it's going away anytime soon, because even though the law is better, it's still a lot to work through, and not to mention trying to change the eyes of the entire American culture still very much view the roles of women in this way, which is a whole nother topic that, one, I'm not qualified to talk about, and two, I don't have 3 hours to talk about it on camera. And talk about it wrong, because that's exactly what I would do. I would talk about it wrong. So, yeah, I really liked the basics of sex. I thought it was good. So I'm gonna go over trailers so I can go eat. Most of the trailers I've gotten before, so I'm not gonna spend too much time on them. First one I got was from, I guess, for the next court drama biopic, which is The Best of Enemies, which has that one girl from Acrimony, whose name I can't remember, even though I've seen so many movies at this point. And Sam Rockwell plays a clan leader. So I guess Sam Rockwell is just between George W. Bush and 3 Billboards. Is Sam Rockwell just cast to be the racist? I don't know. I like Sam Rockwell though, so I'll probably still watch it, even though that one does. That would be. I could say this one looks like it's kind of following the same cliches I was afraid this one was gonna fall into, but I was also wrong about this one too. So who knows? Maybe this one will be good too. Oh God. Okay, so A Dog's Way Home came out last week. A movie I still have to go see. And I thought, oh God damn it, not another one of these fucking movies. At least this one doesn't have Josh Gad. Well, apparently somebody heard me, because not only is there another one of these fucking movies coming out, it's a direct sequel to A Dog's Purpose. So guess who's coming back? Fucking Josh Gad. Which means I have to listen to another hour and a fucking half with that fucking monotone voice. I don't want to fucking do it! I'm sorry. On a second note on that one, and what was really interesting to me was that I kept confusing the name of A Dog's Way Home to A Dog's Journey, and I kept getting those names confused back and forth so many times, and apparently it turns out I'm a fucking prophet, because what's the name of this fucking Dog's Purpose sequel? A Dog's Journey. I don't want to watch this, but I'm gonna have to, and it's gonna have some. I'm gonna have to fucking see it by myself. I don't want to. Moving on. Then we got Rocket Man, which it's still the same trailer, so I have nothing really to say about that one. Miss Bala, same thing. They shall not grow old. I'm really disappointed in playing over here. Okay, this is a new one I got. I haven't got this one before. I got a teaser that really confused me for the longest time because for the entire trailer, it's playing like it's trying to dun, 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 and it's like showing like panoramic shots of like Victorian castle. Here is more old English building. Here is more old English building. This is more of the same building. And I'm like, what the fuck am I watching right now? And then it goes to man on motorcycle driving towards old building. And it's like, the moment you've been waiting for. What is this cinematic masterpiece? Downton Abbey. I said Downtown Abbey. That'd be the American version. Yeah, I forgot Downton Abbey's getting a movie. I've never watched the show, so I have no context for it in any way whatsoever. But maybe it could be good. I know Laura does. Maybe she and I will watch that one. Yeah, that was Downton Abbey. And then the last trailer I got from that was Greta. So, and I wish I've already talked about in the Escape Room review. So if you want my interest on that, my opinion on that one, go watch that video. So that's the last trailer I got. So on the basis of sex, I liked it. I think it's worth watching. I think it's worth paying full price for. So the best movie of the year, no, but it's best biopic in theater right now, so you can't go wrong with that. I think it has a good message. I like the way it conveyed the message, and it has great acting and good characters to follow. So I recommend it. I think it's good, and yeah. That's all I got for this one, guys. So this is another catch-up week because I'm trying to wrap up all the Oscar baiting movies that are still in theaters so I can make my end of the year list because I know I'm a couple weeks behind on that. But I think the last one I really need to check out before I finalize everything is If Beale Street Could Talk, which is another movie I'm probably not qualified to talk about, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And I can't call Ron on this one because he's got other obligations, so. It's just gonna be me, and, sorry, something really weird just popped up on my fucking Facebook feed. So, yeah. There's that, there's The Dog's Way Home. Replicas is out, I kinda wanna see that, just see how bad it is. And, next week is Glass, and I feel like there's something else I'm forgetting. I'm just gonna bug me until I look it up, so bear with me for just a moment while I stall for time. The Upside! I completely forgot about The Upside. Sorry guys, my sinus has been acting like crazy lately. Granted, if you probably said so by now, I do it all the time. So yeah, I'll try to see as many of those as I can between next week, and hopefully I'll be able to do my top 10 and top worst on Martin Luther King Day is when I'm shooting it, is when I'm looking to film, so that way I can have that out for you guys by Tuesday or Wednesday. Until then, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all later. Bye-bye. Oh, and stick around, because it took me like 50 tries to be able to say Ruth's name, and I'm going to put them in the end, because I think it's kind of funny. Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Gator's been... Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Gator's been... Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Gator's been... God damn it! Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Gator's Ginsburg. Ruth Bader's Ginsburg! God damn it! Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Gator's... God damn it! Well, just like the characters in the movie, I massively underestimated Ruth Bader's Ginsburg.